Yeah.
Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, bringing you some of the best college football news, predictions, and analysis. And today, continuing our brand new coaching hire series. And today we are taking a look at the lone coaching change inside the Big 12. A year after 40% of the conference was dealing with a brand new head coach, only one has a brand new head coach going into 2020. And unfortunately, that team is the Baylor Bears. Unfortunately, it is the team that took the biggest step forward in 2019. They are now dealing with a brand new head coach. And you really hate to see it. After everything that Baylor went through, after that whole scandal with Art Briles and everything, after going 1-11 in 2017 in Matt Rhule's first year, he progressively got them better. And last year, in 2019, Matt Rhule had Baylor one win away from playing in the college football playoff. And there are not many teams, not many coaches that can say, yeah, my first year I went 1-11. 2 years later, I was about to be playing in the college football playoff. There are not many coaches that can say that. And that, of course, is the biggest reason why Matt Rhule left Baylor and is now in the NFL coaching the Carolina Panthers. But Baylor 1-11 in 2017, 7-6 in 2018, 11-3 in 2019. Two of those losses coming to Oklahoma, one in the regular season, one in the Big 12 championship game, the other loss coming to Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. Now, a week after that Sugar Bowl loss, Matt Rhule bolted after just 3 years in Waco, now at the next level in the NFL. You can't blame him. He did a remarkable job with the Bears, so you cannot blame him. You cannot blame the Panthers for going after such a great head coach and really just a class act in Matt Rhule, a guy that cares about his programs, a guy that cares about his players, a guy that I truly was a fan of. You just hate to see it. But Matt Rhule, what he did is pretty interesting because we're about to dive into this brand new hire that Baylor had, the brand new coach that Baylor has hired. The reigning national champions, the LSU Tigers, had one of the greatest 1-2 punches within their coaching staff. They had their offensive coordinator, or co-offensive coordinator, in Joe Brady, who was really significant and probably played the biggest role in the development and the rise of Joe Burrow this past season. And then they had one of the greatest defensive minds in all of college football in Dave Aranda. Matt Rhule directly and indirectly took both of those coaches away. He brought Joe Brady with him to Carolina. He leaves Baylor, goes to take the Panthers' job, takes Joe Brady with him. So right then, the reigning champs are going to be dealing with that one of the greatest offensive minds and quarterbacks coach in college football this past season. And because Matt Rhule left, Baylor went out and hired Dave Aranda as their brand new head coach. So directly taking Brady away, indirectly resulting in the decision of Dave Aranda to leave Death Valley and come take the head coaching job in Waco. So both of those moves definitely hurting the reigning champs at LSU, losing two of your top minds, your two top coordinators going into 2020, on top of all the players that they lose as well. So let's talk about Dave Aranda. Let's talk about this brand new hire for Baylor. A hire that I will first off say that I am a huge, huge fan of. Dave Aranda served as the defensive coordinator at LSU from 2016 to 2019 and has been claimed as one of the best defensive coordinators and defensive minds in all of college football. And he lived up to that title during his time down in Death Valley. But the ironic thing is that every year, statistically, I wouldn't even say physically, but statistically, LSU's defense got worse, yet the team got better. During his time in Death Valley, statistically, LSU's defensive numbers got worse, yet the team got better. And I'll tell you why. In 2016, LSU allowed just 15.8 points per game, and the team went 8-4. In 2017, LSU allowed 18.9 points per game. The team went 9-4. In 2018, they had their worst mark yet under Dave Aranda, 21.8 points per game allowed, but the team went 10-3. So game improvement year after year. And then as we all know, in 2019, the worst mark under Dave Aranda in his 4 years as coordinator, 21.9 points per game allowed, which is still good for the 32nd best scoring defense in the entire country. And LSU went 15-0 and won the national championship. Now, yes, of course, a lot of that is credited to their offense and Joe Burrow, but keep in mind, this defense stepped up when it mattered most, stepped up and was able to get a win at Alabama, stepped up and shut down Auburn in a very close game, one of the most difficult tests of the season for LSU, stepped up and shut down Jalen Hurts in Oklahoma and Trevor Lawrence and Clemson in that national championship game. So this defense doing a phenomenal job in 2019 despite having their worst year statistically. And once again, I think many teams would kill for those numbers and would kill to have Dave Aranda on their staff. Now, we know that Dave Aranda has been one of the greatest coaches, defensive minds, because he has succeeded everywhere he has been, whether that's at LSU, whether that's Wisconsin, or whether that's even Utah State, where back in 2012, when he was defensive coordinator for the Aggies, they allowed just 15.4 points per game. So it doesn't matter where he's been. He even spent some time at Hawaii and thrived there. But wherever he has been, Dave Aranda's defenses have thrived, and he has coached some phenomenal players. I think that's one thing that you cannot overlook is just the talent that Dave Aranda has developed and how well they have done at the next level. Just at LSU alone, especially in the secondary, he's coached players like Grant Delpit, Christian Fulton, Derek Stingley, Devin White, Greedy Williams, and that's just naming a few of them. And all those guys, of course, playing in the secondary. Doesn't even count guys in the front seven along the defensive line and the linebacking core. So wherever Dave Aranda has gone, he has thrived, and wherever he has coached some beasts that thrive at the next level, and that is huge for Baylor. That is huge for Baylor. Coaches and especially players love coaches that can guarantee them to improve and can almost guarantee them that if you come play for me, I'm going to develop you, you're going to get better, and you're going to go play on Sundays. That's a great recruiting tactic, and Aranda's got a lot of them. So let's take a look at their 2020 outlook. What are we looking at here for Baylor? You lose Matt Rhule. You're one game away from playing in the college football playoff. Many expect Baylor to take a bit of a step back, and they probably will. I don't expect Dave Aranda to walk in here and win 11 games again. But one key thing for Baylor is that their quarterback does return. Charlie Brewer comes back for Baylor. And that's huge because many thought he might leave early for the NFL draft, and he decided to stick around one more year. And, of course, battled some injuries late in the season, just kept getting hit and could not get healthy. But was one of the best quarterbacks within the Big 12. And right then, when you have a brand new head coach, he doesn't have to come in and worry about a quarterback battle, you're already major steps ahead than some of these other brand new head coaches. So, huge for Baylor there, getting their quarterback back. They lose their wide receiver in Denzel Mims, though, one of their biggest playmakers, so that's obviously a huge loss. And unfortunately for Dave Aranda, they lose about half of their defensive starters. And that includes Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, James Lynch. So, a defensive-minded coach coming in with what's going to be a relatively depleted defense from the majority of the starters they had back in 2019, you do hate to see that. But when you've got one of the best defensive minds in the entire game, I do think Baylor is going to be pretty well off defensively. Still got about half of that defense back. You cut it in half. Half's gone. Half's coming back. And then you've got players that maybe weren't starters, but did get plenty of playing experience in 2019 that will develop relatively quickly under Aranda's scheme. When you look at their schedule, Baylor, you're going to get a really good look at how Baylor's going to be right off the bat. In Week 1, Dave Aranda faces a familiar foe in Ole Miss. The Bears open up against the Rebels out of the SEC in Houston. And if you remember, LSU's defense struggled mightily against Ole Miss in the regular season. Then back in 2019, yes, LSU did win that game because Ole Miss didn't have a defense themselves. But John Rice Plumlee and Ole Miss ran all over that Tigers defense. So it will be very interesting to see because Rice Plumlee is going to be one of the more dangerous quarterbacks in the SEC this season just because of his dual threat ability. He was one of the SEC's leading rushers this past year, and he wasn't a running back. He was a quarterback. So it will be interesting to see how Baylor responds to him, how well Baylor does and stopping Lane Kiffin's offense now at Ole Miss, a team that we will touch on. So two brand new head coaches going at it down in Houston. Dave Aranda's defense going up against Lane Kiffin's offense, as we all know, really an offensive mind himself. So that's going to be a sneaky good Week 1 game to watch out for. Baylor also having to travel to Oklahoma and to Texas. Both are going to be teams that are going to be towards the top of the Big 12 standings in 2020. So difficult tests there. 3 difficult tests that I think you watch those games, and how Baylor performs in those games is going to be very indicative of how that season is going to go. And you will have a very good idea of what the Bears will look like and how the Bears are going to be, kind of their season outlook at the end of Week 1, because Ole Miss is no pushover. And playing a Power 5 team right out of the gate, I think it's a fantastic opportunity to really see what your team's made of, especially for a brand new head coach. And the same can be said for Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss. So what do we grade this hire of Dave Aranda at Baylor? A team that is not, in my opinion, going to be going through a rebuild, but a team that will take a bit of a step back after such a phenomenal 2019 season. I'm giving this hire an A. A flat-out A. Not A-, not A+, just an A. But one of the highest grades we've given in this early coaching series. And I've got to tell you, the reason we're doing this is because Dave Aranda is one of the greatest defensive minds in the game. As we mentioned earlier, he has thrived and succeeded everywhere he has gone. We said that, yes, the numbers may have gotten worse every year at LSU, but he coached some of the best defensive players in the SEC in these past 4 seasons, and LSU continued to win and improve those past 4 seasons. He's also a very intense coach. I like coaches that show some passion, that show that they care about the game, that they care about the players, and they don't sit there on the sideline with that deer in the headlights look after every moment of the game. You need a coach that's going to light a fire under this team, that's going to get some spark in practice, that's going to be intense on the sidelines, both in practice and on the game. And Dave Aranda is that man. He has played, or he has coached at some elite schools, Wisconsin and LSU, thrived at Utah State. He is no stranger to big games, big moments, elite teams, and that is why he was a phenomenal, phenomenal hire by Baylor. Aranda was due to get a head coaching job. It was about time. It was way past time for him to get a head coaching job. He was just waiting for the right opportunity. Baylor, certainly that guy. Matt Rhule built them back up after the mess that Art Briles left. Baylor football is now stable again. And I have no doubt in my mind that Dave Aranda is going to come in here and he's going to continue what Matt Rhule started, and he's going to get Baylor back, if you even want to say they're back, to dominance and prominence and relevance in the Big 12 and the national stage. So a fantastic hire by the administration down at Baylor. Sick 'em Bears. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch over these next few years. So guys, thank you so much for watching us here on YouTube. We're continuing this coaching series. Plenty of coaches coming your way over the following days, so you do not want to miss out on any of that analysis. And as always, we want to hear from you. So leave your analysis and your grades in the comments below. Check out everything in the description for some content and news that you do not want to miss. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please continue to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you next time on The Gridiron Expert.